What was your first mascara? And do you remember being mesmerized by this pink and green tube in the drugstore? Welcome to Reglam Me, where beauty meets memory and every look tells a story. Before there was TikTok makeup, before YouTube tutorials, before department store beauty counters became destinations, there was a pink and green tube that sat on every woman's bathroom counter in America. For 50 years, this little tube has been called many things: a beauty staple, a cultural icon, a rite of passage. But its story doesn't begin in the 1970s disco era where it was born. It begins much earlier, with a sister, a suitor, and a love story that changed American beauty forever. This is the story of Maybelline Great Lash. And if you grew up in the 70s, 80s, or 90s, this was probably your first mascara too. Our story begins in 1915. Not in a laboratory, not in a boardroom, but in a modest Chicago home where a young woman named Mabel Williams was nursing a broken heart. Mabel Williams was 19 years old, and like many young women of her era, she had fallen deeply in love with a man who was in love with someone else. Now in 1915, a woman's options were limited. She couldn't swipe right. She couldn't text. She couldn't slide into anyone's DMs. What she could do was make herself irresistible with the tools she had. And Mabel Williams had a secret weapon: Vaseline. This petroleum jelly, which had been around since the 1870s, was marketed as a cure-all. Everything from chapped lips to minor burns. But Mabel discovered something the advertisements never mentioned. When she carefully applied Vaseline to her eyelashes and eyebrows, they gleamed. They caught the light. They gave her what she called a sultry stare. But Mabel wanted more than just shine. She wanted drama. She wanted her eyes to be unforgettable. So she experimented. She tried charcoal. She tried ash from the coal stove. Nothing worked quite right. Enter Mabel's younger brother, Thomas Lyle Williams. Thomas was just 16 years old, but he had the mind of a chemist and the heart of an entrepreneur. When he saw his sister's heartbreak, when he witnessed her nightly beauty ritual, he had an idea. What if he could help her? What if he could create something that would darken those lashes dramatically, something better than coal dust and hope? In the Williams family kitchen, 16-year-old Thomas mixed Vaseline with carbon dust, the fine black powder left behind by burning coal. He stirred it carefully, tested the consistency, and presented it to his sister. The results were immediate. Mabel's lashes went from barely visible to dramatically dark. Her eyes went from ordinary to mesmerizing. And according to family legend, the suitor who had been in love with someone else, he suddenly noticed Mabel Williams. He courted her. He fell for her. And eventually, she won his heart. Now we have to be careful here. This is a family legend, told and retold, probably embellished over decades of company marketing. Did mascara actually win Mabel her man? We may never know the full truth. But what we do know is this: Thomas Lyle Williams believed in the power of what he'd created. He believed it had changed his sister's life. And in 1915, he decided to change the world. Thomas founded a company, and he named it after the two things that had made it all possible: his sister Mabel and the Vaseline that started it all. Maybelline. The first Maybelline product was sold by mail order for just 75 cents. It came in a small cake form, not unlike shoe polish, with a tiny brush. The tagline was simple but revolutionary for its time: for the modern woman who wants to enhance her natural beauty. This was the era of the flapper, the era of women's suffrage, the era when women were cutting their hair, raising their hemlines, and demanding independence. Makeup wasn't just about catching a man anymore, it was about self-expression, about control, about stepping into a new American identity. By the 1920s, Maybelline was a national brand. By the 1930s, it had expanded into eyebrow pencils and eyeshadows. By the 1950s, it was synonymous with eye makeup itself. But the company's greatest innovation was still decades away. Because in 1971, everything would change. Not just for Maybelline, but for every woman who wanted beautiful lashes without the hassle. Let's talk about 1971. Richard Nixon was president. The voting age had just been lowered to 18. Apollo 14 had landed on the moon. And American women were in the middle of a cosmetic crisis they didn't even know they had. Because in 1971, mascara was difficult. Most mascaras on the market were solvent-based. They were thick. They clumped. They smudged. And removing them at the end of the day required industrial-strength cold cream and the patience of a saint. You had to work for beautiful lashes. You had to separate each lash with a pin. You had to heat the wand over a match flame if the product dried out. And yes, women actually did this. You had to accept raccoon eyes by mid-afternoon as the price of glamour. And then, in February 1971, Maybelline launched Great Lash Mascara.
For the look that makes the difference, lengthens, thickens, and defines. America's #1 mascara.
The tagline was simple: the mascara that conditions while it beautifies. But the real innovation was invisible. It was the formula itself. Great Lash was water-based, not solvent-based. Now, if you're not a cosmetic chemist, that might not sound revolutionary. But think about it this way. Water-based meant it went on smoothly. It didn't clump. It didn't smell like chemicals. And most importantly, it washed off with soap and water. For the first time in cosmetic history, women could have long, dark, separated lashes and remove their mascara as easily as washing their face. This was a game changer. The beauty editors noticed immediately. Vogue called it effortless glamour. Harper's Bazaar praised its natural lash look.
Lashes that last all day. These shifts in beauty standards reflect a broader movement towards professional empowerment and self-expression.
Women's magazines ran tutorials showing the proper application technique, which for the first time didn't require a PhD in cosmetic science. But here's what made Great Lash truly revolutionary. It was affordable. In 1971, you could buy high-end mascara at a department store for $8 or $10, nearly $70 in today's money. Or you could walk into your local Woolworths, your corner drugstore, your Five and Dime, and buy Maybelline Great Lash for just $1.99.
You guys, the hype is real. This is the best mascara launch this year.
Absolutely, and the sales data proves it. It's outselling everything else.
Suddenly, beautiful lashes weren't reserved for wealthy women who shopped at Saks Fifth Avenue. They were for every woman. The secretary, the teacher, the stay-at-home mom, the college student. Great Lash democratized beauty, and women noticed. Within months, Great Lash was flying off drugstore shelves.
Look at all these gorgeous shades. This new mascara is absolutely everything and you have to try it. The volume is insane.
Within a year, it was the best-selling mascara in America, a title it would hold for decades. Now here's something remarkable. That original 1971 formula, according to Maybelline, it has never been changed, not reformulated, not improved, not updated for modern standards. The Great Lash you can buy today is chemically identical to the one your mother bought in 1971, and possibly your grandmother too. In an industry obsessed with innovation, with new and improved, with the next big thing, Maybelline made the radical choice to leave perfection alone. But the formula, as revolutionary as it was, is only half the story. Because what made Great Lash an icon, what made it unforgettable, wasn't just what was inside the tube. It was the tube itself. To understand the pink and green tube, we need to talk about the 1970s. And to talk about the 70s, we need to talk about Lily Pulitzer. Lily Pulitzer was a socialite, a fashion designer, and the unofficial queen of prep. She designed dresses in eye-popping colors: hot pink, lime green, electric yellow, tangerine orange. Her patterns were bold, her aesthetic was fearless, and her customer base included some of the most famous women in America, including Jackie Kennedy. The former First Lady, America's icon of elegance and taste, wore Lily Pulitzer. And when Jackie wore something, America paid attention. By 1971, Lily Pulitzer's influence was everywhere. Her bright tropical colors had invaded fashion, home decor, even stationery. The 70s weren't just about earth tones and macrame, they were about color. Bold, unapologetic, in-your-face color. And someone at Maybelline was paying attention. When it came time to design the packaging for Great Lash, the design team made a bold choice. They would make it unforgettable. They would make it pop. They would make it the Lily Pulitzer of mascara tubes, neon pink, lime green. Two colors that, in theory, should clash. Two colors that break every rule of traditional design. Two colors that were perfect, because on a drugstore shelf crowded with blacks, silvers, and subtle golds, that pink and green tube jumped out like a beacon. You couldn't miss it. You couldn't ignore it. Whether you were 8 years old, tagging along with your mother, or 18 and buying your first mascara, or 80 and staying loyal to the brand you'd used for decades, that tube called to you. Maybelline's advertising reinforced the message. Get the look that's lush, that's full, that's very Great Lash. The commercials featured models with impossibly long lashes, winking at the camera.
This mascara gives you incredible volume without clumping. But
The print ads showed the pink and green tube front and center, as recognizable as a Coca-Cola bottle. And America bought it. Not just once. Again and again, for 50 years. By the 1980s, one tube of Great Lash was sold every 1.7 seconds. By the 1990s, it was in 70% of American bathrooms. Makeup artists called it the backbone of their kits. Celebrities admitted to using it. Supermodels swore by it. Professional makeup artists loved it because it was reliable. It was affordable enough to use generously. And it gave a natural, separated lash look that photographed beautifully. No clumping, no spider legs, no mess. But for millions of American women, Great Lash was something more personal. It was a rite of passage. Your first mascara. The one you bought with your allowance at the corner drugstore. The one you practiced with in your bathroom mirror, learning how not to poke yourself in the eye. The one you shared with your best friend before a school dance. The one your mother showed you how to use. Great Lash became a cosmetic gateway drug. The product that introduced generations of women to makeup, and because it was so reliable, so affordable, so there, it became a staple that many women never replaced. Why fix what isn't broken? Now you might be wondering, in the age of $200 department store mascaras, in the age of fiber extensions and magnetic lashes and YouTube beauty gurus, does Great Lash still matter? The answer is yes. Absolutely yes. Even today, Great Lash remains one of the top-selling mascaras in America. It's still on those drugstore shelves, that pink and green tube still standing out. It's still recommended by makeup artists. It's still the mascara that mothers hand to their daughters. Because in a world of constant change, of endless innovation, of products that promise the moon and deliver disappointment, Great Lash is reliable, it's familiar, it's home.
It started with a vision in 1915.
out clumping.
Then came
but
the
which Great Lash
71
look is your favorite? Let us know in the comments and join the Reglam community.
Baby boomers and Generation X, the story of Maybelline Great Lash is more than just the story of a mascara. It's the story of American beauty itself. How we define it, how we democratize it, how we pass it down. It began with a sister trying to win a suitor's heart, with a teenage boy mixing Vaseline and carbon dust in his family's kitchen, with a belief that every woman deserves to feel beautiful. It continued with a formula that revolutionized the industry, making beauty effortless, making it affordable, making it accessible. And it became legendary through design, two colors that shouldn't work together but somehow became unforgettable. For 50 years, that pink and green tube has sat on bathroom counters across America. It's been in high school lockers and professional makeup kits. It's been in purses and carry-ons and medicine cabinets. It's been borrowed, shared, and passed down. It's witnessed first dates and job interviews. proms and weddings, ordinary Tuesdays and extraordinary moments. It's been there for the times we wanted to look our best and the times we just wanted to look like ourselves.
This mascara gives you incredible volume without clumping. But which Great Lash look is your favorite? Let us know in the comments and join the Reglam community.
So here's my question for you. What was your first mascara? Do you remember that pink and green tube in the drugstore calling to you from the shelf? Do you remember the first time you swept that brush across your lashes and felt just a little more grown up?
It's about the transformation you feel inside.
Leave a comment and share your Great Lash memory. Tell us your story. Because this isn't just about mascara. It's about the moments that made us who we are. Welcome to Reglam Me, where beauty meets memory and every look tells a story. And this is American beauty history. If you enjoyed this journey into the past, subscribe to this channel. We'll be exploring more iconic products, more forgotten stories, more moments that defined how America gets ready in the morning. Next time, we're diving into the surprising history of another drugstore staple that changed everything. You won't want to miss it. Until then, keep rediscovering your beauty history.